I would love to say being a nutritionist, the number one thing we focus on is food, but it's not. What foods feel good in your body? We don't all just go take a multivitamin because we all need the same exact thing. Because again, it goes back to the noise, and there's so many influencers and so much nutrition noise out there that people get confused. If all you were focused on is how crappy you feel in the moment, you're going to continue to feel crappy. Everyone's on their own journey and they have to get there at their time. What's going to serve your soul better?
In today's episode, you are going to hear from Kira Whitham, naturopathic doctor and nutritionist, about nourishing your whole person health so that you can debunk the myths that have been keeping you stuck and miserable for so long, and instead step into the version of you that feels great in your body, mind, and spirit. Let's dive in. Welcome to Resonance, the podcast for high performers and entrepreneurs who want to do life, work, and success differently. I am your host, Viktoria Levenberg, and I'm obsessed with efficiency, productivity, and planning in a way that harnesses your energy and your natural rhythms while keeping you in alignment and integrity. Because I have figured out that lasting success is not about the hustle. It is about being in resonance. Let's begin. All right, quick intro to Kira. We met through our Business by Design community. So she's also an online expert, entrepreneur, and in that similar space. And we connected through shared passions, shared mission and vision and goals. And, as soon as I got closer to her world, I was like, we got to bring you on to the podcast. And Kira is a naturopathic doctor and nutritionist moving from, early childhood education, basically. She went through her own challenges of dealing with severe gut health issues and using her knowledge and her experience to heal herself. So I'm not going to give too much away. You'll just have to listen to the episode for the details, but it's a really inspiring story. And what I really love is that she's got this perspective of whole person health. So she looks at you as an entire being, not just the physical sheath, but also the mind, body, spirit connection and really everything that's going on in your life, which in my humble opinion is the only way to truly achieve sustainable, lifelong transformational change. And what's even more inspiring is hearing the story of her husband, who also was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition where his bloods and results were really, really scary. And through, the knowledge that and experience that Kira had, she was able to support him in his healing journey as well. So look, without further ado, just know that by the end of this episode, you will know exactly where to start to begin your own journey so that you can feel better in your body, mind, and spirit in a way that just feels easy, simple, and achievable. Enjoy. Welcome to Resonance. Thank you so much for saying yes and coming on to the podcast. I would love for you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. My name is Kira Whitham. I am a functional medicine trained nutritionist and traditional naturopath living in Austin, Texas. And I mean, I do what it sounds like I do. However, I take a very mind, body, spirit approach to healing. I don't believe that supplements and protocols and restrictive diets are what heals the body.
I love that perspective, and it is very much aligned to a lot of, my work, hence why we're here and on that same wavelength. And tell me a little bit more of your story. Like, maybe what's one thing that doesn't show up on your official bio that we would know only if we listened to this episode?
Ooh, I'm actually a board certified hypnotist.
Cool.
Yeah, I probably don't utilize it to my capacity. Like when I first did it, I was so excited. And then I don't know, it's like I had too many tools in my tool belts. But yeah, that's one fun fact.
Yeah. And I love that because that is so cool. I reacted this way because I'm not board certified in this, but I've also, done a training on subconscious healing and facilitated a lot of this work. And it is also one of those tools in my tool belt that I no longer really use, only for special occasions. So like VIP days and that sort of stuff. So
Yeah,
I can really resonate with you. And I'm sure that even if it's not something you actively practice, you weave it into your work in different ways.
100%. Yeah.
And tell me a bit about your story and like how did you come to do what you do today? And there's always something that guides us, isn't there?
There is. So I was a middle school English teacher, dealing with my own digestive issues. And honestly, these issues started as an infant, truly. Like I just
Mm-hmm.
was the kid with stomach aches all the time. And so in my 20s teaching, I was a little fed up. Very high stress job, a lot to deal with. And the issues just kept getting worse. And so I'm seeing doctor after doctor. They're doing, scopes and barium drinks and all these, and really don't have anything to tell me. And so I think I hit a breaking point and said, what if I just start to understand food? Which
Mm-hmm.
sounds so funny, but for me, it was like I didn't understand. Like they didn't really teach nutrition here in schools. I don't know how it is there, but if it's on a
Nope.
you're like, "No." Yeah, if it's on a grocery store shelf, you eat it, right? Like, yeah, get
Mm-hmm.
some fruits and vegetables in, but that was about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, "Well, let me go back to school and get a degree in nutrition to help myself."
Wow.
I know, and so by the time I finished, I had just given birth to my son, and shortly after that, my husband was diagnosed with autoimmune hepatitis, which was a very scary diagnosis to get. And I knew enough to be dangerous just graduating with this nutrition degree that, like,
Mm.
the body doesn't just start attacking itself for no reason. Like, there's got to be something going on. And then that led me down the functional medicine road, found him a functional medicine doctor, started studying on my own, and then it just kept going.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And tell me your husband, how is he
Great.
today?
Great.
Yeah.
So, just for maybe not exciting for your listeners, but sometimes for reference, here in the US, liver enzymes should be in the teens to 20s, and his were in the 2000s. So he
Wow.
was to the point where they were talking liver transplant.
Oh.
Within months, and I'm talking, I think it was 3 months, we were down into the hundreds. Within 6 months, he was back into the low 20s, and we've monitored
Mm-hmm.
every 6 months, and there's
Mm-hmm.
never been an elevation again. And that was almost 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations both to you and to him. And, I'm always so inspired by hearing other people's journeys of how it does always really start with ourselves. We find the magic for us, and then we use that to ripple out into the world. And so, can you tell me a little bit more about how you navigated your stomach issues and also how you supported your husband's recovery from his liver? I mean, wow,
Yeah.
enzymes being in the thousands, that's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, it was that food piece really was huge, and I didn't realize how much of a role it was playing. I just wasn't eating right for me. I didn't understand the simple foundational pieces of, oh, those cooking oils aren't great, and oh,
Hmm.
maybe you should be eating like this. And so once I started changing my diet and really aiming for a nutrient dense one, most of my symptoms went away. Now, granted, there were still lingering things, and I discovered them to be cyclical. Like they would come
Oh.
and go in periods of stress mostly. But
Hmm.
that realization didn't totally come on until much later. Like it took me a
Hmm.
while before I connected the dots on that one. But between mostly diet and some lifestyle shifts, things got better. Now, granted, in the beginning, studying functional medicine, I do what probably most newer practitioners do. You get hung up on protocols and supplements. And so I ran myself through everything, which probably didn't need.
But it's
um,
so much fun. You've got access to all of
right.
it,
I felt like, oh, I must need this and I need that. And oh my gosh, this must be an issue. So
Mm-hmm.
That resolved over time, but again, most of it was food. And then for my husband, with autoimmune, I always teach my clients that it's like a stool. You can kick away one leg. Maybe you'll hang on there, but you got to have at least two. So when we look at autoimmune, autoimmune hepatitis, there was the stress piece, there was the
Mm-hmm.
poor sleep piece with a newborn baby.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
there was the food piece as well. Like he wasn't eating great. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't quite right for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the gut toxicity piece, which he didn't pay any attention to. So for his journey, a little different than mine. It was definitely leaving a job that he hated, that was creating a lot of stress.
Mm. Yep.
And right after the autoimmune hepatitis diagnosis, it was discovered that he had celiac. And
Mm.
he had been, because he had lost so much weight with
Yeah.
this, he was literally just like gorging on bread and pasta, so making it worse.
Oh
So
my
once
gosh.
once we learned that gluten was not his friend, that was a big
Yeah.
hit.
Wow. Wow. And like I'm frivolously making notes as you speak here because there are so many golden nuggets in everything you've just said. Like some of the things that you mentioned first and foremost is just stress is like that common ingredient. Again, I know I've been like harping on about this for so long, people tend to brush it aside, but we don't understand that. Well, what most people don't understand is that we're one integrated being, and whatever's going on up here in the monkey mind is also through different pathways, as you are well aware, connected to other areas like the gut, etc., and the basics like sleep, like food. But you also touched on something so freakishly important, which is purpose, leaving a job that he hated.
Yeah.
So how many people walk through their days sleepwalking, just thinking, well, this is the cards I was dealt.
This pays the bills, whatever.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
This is all I know how to do. It's too late for me. All that
Mhm.
nonsense. Yes. And the toxicity piece that you mentioned as well. Like a lot of people aren't aware of this, and so it just keeps building up. And many of the listeners might not be aware, but the liver is like the body's most biggest, most primal detox organ, right? And
Yeah.
so when you've got autoimmune disease and the liver enzymes in the thousands, that is a big red flag. And so how have you now taken these teachings, these learnings, this experience, and how do you work with your clients today?
I mean, I would love to say being a nutritionist, the number one thing we focus on food is food, but it's not. Most of my clients come into me and are really savvy. Like by the time they come to me, they've tried every diet, therapeutic, restrictive, all the things. And for the most part, they're pretty healthy eaters. Now, granted, once in a while I'll get some people that are kind of like I was, and they're like, I don't know. Like there's so much nutrition noise out there. Am I supposed to eat plants? Are plants killing me because of the oxalates? Like, do I eat carnivore?
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. There's definitely people that are a bit confused out there. And if that's the case, that's where we start. But really, I tell people I treat them like a puzzle. And maybe that's a bad analogy, but that's how my brain works. I sit down, I map everything out, and we start to have a conversation. It's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of rapid fire questions on my end initially,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm
Love it.
trying to know them and their story. Like, when did symptoms start? What was going on in your life? What was your childhood like? And then that stress piece comes in. Now, maybe not in the beginning. I'm very subtle. Like I'll ask,
Mm-hmm.
how's your stress? Do you feel stressed? And I always have to kind of laugh at this. It's not a trick question, but it almost is. And I'm sure you see that too, because so many people are like, no, I manage it fine, or I'm not more stressed than the other person. And then we get into the piece that you mentioned, like lack of purpose, right? That creates stress in the body if you hate what you're doing. Then we
Mm-hmm.
talk also about toxicity, but in the sense of our relationships. Are you involved in toxic relationships? And how do you talk to yourself? Is that toxic? And so we look
Mm-hmm.
at all of the ways stress shows up, not just are you working a 50-hour work week? It's what are
Mm-hmm.
the thoughts running through your mind? What are the beliefs? What's the identity of you,
Mhm.
because we can't heal if we subconsciously believe that we're sick and we're destined to be sick.
Exactly. And thank you for saying that, because that immediately ties the dot back to your, hypnotherapy
Yeah, yeah.
experience as well, right? Most people don't understand that 90% of our mind is beyond our conscious awareness. And so whatever old limiting beliefs, stories, unprocessed stress loops, emotional traumatic events, you name it, we've still got running the show. That is then bringing forth our reality, right? And so I love how you like ask that trick question in there. I had to laugh so much because I've literally got a client right now who's dealing with a lot of stress, and they're in my founding members launch, which is literally called the stress reset.
Oh,
And they've
oh,
gone through all this preliminary, like they have so much more awareness and understanding around stress than they ever have. But because right now their nervous system is like in full sympathetic, you kind of tend to regress when you're in that stage of,
yep.
unfortunately, in that nervous system state. And I can just hear them saying things like, oh, whatever, stress, it is just normal, it's not stress, this is just life admin. And I'm like, I don't,
Mhm.
okay, you might think that now.
Yeah.
We'll talk later. Let's come into a resonant state and then take it from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Mm.
so interesting. I mean, I feel like our society has set us up for failure. The hustle and
Mm.
grind culture. Keep
Yeah.
doing more. What you're doing is never enough. And so we don't view it as stress. And that's why I said for me, I saw it in the beginning, but I didn't see it at the same time. And
Mm-hmm.
it took me years later, and now I'm like, it all goes back to stress. If I get a stomach ache, which is very rare for digestive issues to come back, I
Mm-hmm.
go into doing some deep breathing, some vagus nerve resets, like I
Mm-hmm.
know that there's something in there I'm holding on to stress.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, like, as you say, the work never ends. You
Mm,
could be the most professional and experienced and enlightened being on the planet. And the thing is, like, life's still going to happen. And the stressors are always going to be there. The question is, like, how well prepared are you to
yep.
respond to them rather than to react to life?
Mhm.
And there's a big difference in those two things. And tell me a little bit more about, so you mentioned like you healed a big part of your symptoms using food and a lot of those things, which is incredible. And then there was another part that you discovered that was cyclical. And I get so excited when I hear people say this, because this is like, so much of what I teach now. And, in my world, cyclical alignment is the missing ingredient for us to actually achieve our goals. Because, as you say, we're all so conditioned to be in this linear productivity hustle paradigm, and yet we are cyclical beings. So tell me about your experience, and what was that like for you?
So when I say cyclical, for me, it was twofold. From the purely clinical aspect, hormones.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't recognize, oh, estrogen and the estrobolome, that plays a large component of gut health. So it really was hormonal. And I wouldn't say every month it came on, but I started to
Mm-hmm.
notice, symptoms always happen around my cycle. So that was the
Mm-hmm.
cyclical piece. And then also stress. Stress would come back around. I'd start ignoring things. Stuff would build up. I'd get frustrated. Boom, symptoms would come right back.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Wow. So there's kind of this, the cyclical piece is in your physical hormonal body, but also this sort of vicious cycle of stress, as you call it. And around this time, because you obviously were so exposed to this field, right, through your studies, through your knowledge. What was your understanding like of your female physiology and your cycle and
In the
all these
beginning,
things?
nothing. Like there was nothing. And
Right.
even in nutrition school and honestly studying functional medicine, there wasn't much. It wasn't until years ago that, I started hearing cycle syncing for women. And I'm like, what is this? Like, what do you mean I'm supposed to pay attention to what I'm eating and how I'm training and doing that? And could I dig into it more? Yeah. But it's fascinating to me, and I believe it because we look at females and we follow the moon cycles. Why? You know what I mean? Like it makes
Yes.
sense.
Yes. And I also argue that it's not limited to just cycling females. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of people are like, oh, well, then this doesn't apply to me because I've had a hysterectomy, or I've gone through peri or menopause, or I'm not female, I don't identify as whatever, right? And the thing is, like, that I always keep coming back to, and I love that you said that as well, is like, there's so many more cycles than just the female
Mhm.
physiology. We've got the moon, we've got the season, there's so much more, I'm sure, like in your world and your spiritual teachings as well, that it applies to everyone.
Yep.
And it all comes back to this capital T truth, that everything in nature oscillates and moves through this rhythm. It is not just a static line. And it baffles me that even in functional medicine school, we're not taught this, let alone in like preschool, when it's just like, here, make sure you use protection, and here's how to use a tampon. You know? Oh my God. I don't know
Mm.
about you, but my life skills class did not teach me a lot about life
I
skills.
was gonna say, I don't remember I don't even remember a life skills class. I don't know if that existed here.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, no, we did we had, like, I remember watching movies about AIDS. That was fun. Um, you know, they were basically just like fear mongering us into
Mm,
getting pregnant and all those sort of things. But similarly to yourself, you know, in my personal journey, I also had a lot of I had a skin condition that came up. It was all stress related. No doctor could put a finger on it. There was a liver growth as well. So I had a lot of stuff with, you know, detoxing and all those things, autoimmune. And I was on the pill for 12 years
mm.
because I was sold that
I
as the
I
only.
was on it. Hey, this is gonna help your crazy cycles in your gut, which no one told me that it might actually make things worse, but another story.
Exactly, exactly. And so, like, it just really baffles me how misinformed, unfortunately, young women and women of our age are these days about our bodies, about our cycles. And so, I'm really grateful that you brought that up, because it sounds like it was a big part of your journey as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Wow. And so, as you know, in your experience of talking food and holistic health and spirituality, etc., I've heard you mention this a few times now, where particularly on the food aspect, you mentioned finding what's right for me, him finding what's right for him. And I picked up on that immediately, because I'm like, yep, yeah, this resonates. Can you tell the listeners a little bit more about what you mean about that?
Yeah, so part of it is in the simplest form, what foods feel good in your body, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people don't listen to that. There's so many influencers and so much nutrition noise out there that people get confused. They're like, okay, well, I'm told I'm supposed to eat this way, so I'm going to keep eating that way. But do those foods serve you? So part of it is learning to tap into, okay, I ate this thing, and every time I eat it, how do I feel in my body? How do I
Mm-hmm.
mentally feel? Like, am I clear? So that's one. The other piece is we're all individual, uh, or I should say, we all have individual needs in the sense that, like, for my body, may need more magnesium. I may need more zinc, So looking
Mm-hmm.
at the nutrient component of what are you missing? What are you deficient in? Because you're obviously going to need more of that. We don't,
Mm-hmm.
this is why I don't say we don't all just go take a multivitamin because we all need the same exact thing. It
Yeah.
doesn't work that way. So looking at nutritional needs, and then sometimes when we get into the more biochemical clinical aspect, if we're looking at stool testing, we're looking at organic acids testing, things like that. Okay, based on your microbiome, can we get more resistant starches in? Can we do this? Or in my husband's case, hey, gluten's not working for you. Let's not eat that.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, in my opinion, there's three aspects I'm kind of looking at that. And then of course,
Mm-hmm.
likes and dislikes, right? If you hate beans, don't eat beans.
Yeah, exactly. Don't try and force yourself into
Yeah.
something that you're not. Yeah. And I'm so grateful that, you know, you embody that in your work, because there's so much misinformation out there. There's so much information now. Also, is just, I mean, especially with AI, is just like bleh,
Mm,
information overload, right? And people can get really overwhelmed really quickly and just completely give up because it all feels too hard. And so I find that so important, is just to find, truly let go of what anyone else thinks and whatever the latest fashion thing is, and just experiment with your own body. Understand that there will be trial and error, and you will go through some things that didn't work. That's okay. I use always the analogy of like going to the store and trying clothes on, and you might think something looks cute, and then you try it on and you're like, nah, not for me, and you put it away. That's fine. You don't have to take it to the checkout, right? But like, we got to try it on first. And so it sounds like you really weave that into your work with your clients.
Yeah, because again, it goes back to the noise. And I don't know what you see out there, but I mean, I see people arguing over, no, if you've got gut issues, you should go carnivore. And then others are saying, no, 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 vegan is the way to be. And the hard part is, so many people that are confused listen to one of those and run with it. Like, there is no one right diet. Like, stop arguing over it. There is not a diet out there that is best. There's a diet that is best for you.
Yes.
Period.
Yes. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, boom, and end the episode.
Yeah.
100%. And I think that applies to everything in life. Like, it's not just food. It is, I teach it in a lot of my practices. I'm a yoga teacher as well, and do a lot of mindfulness and all these things. And like, I found a meditation practice that works for me, but just because that works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for everyone. Like, people get so turned off by the word mindfulness because they think that it is just like this, you've got to sit still and do it just this one way, and it is one way or the highway. And it's like, no, it could be so many million different things. Like, you just got to keep trying until you find the thing, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
If the word mindfulness has ever felt vague, overwhelming, or just like a little woo-woo, a little out of reach, I have created something just for you. It is Live in Presence 8 Days of Mindfulness. It's my free online course that gently walks you through everything I wish I had known when I first heard the word mindfulness, without like the funky jargon or getting super complicated as the yogis tend to do, okay? Over 8 days, you will receive short, grounded lessons and simple practices that you can literally weave into your life starting today, even if you're busy, tired, or feeling totally out of sync. It is the perfect solution to regulating your nervous system when you don't know where to start. The link is in the show notes below. You can sign up for free at victorialevenberg.com/live-in-presence, or through the link in my bio at Viktoria Levenberg. Because presence isn't something that you need to earn. It is something that you get to return to. So speaking of returning, let's get back to the episode. Speaking of, mindfulness and resonance and tying it back to stress that you mentioned earlier, I really would love to hear if there's a myth or because you said earlier there's like so much noise out there. If there is a myth or a misconception or something that you keep hearing in your industry that you would just wish you could dispel once and for all.
I mean, there's a lot of those. One of them is the diet, right? I think that's a really big one. I think another one would be about probiotics. I mean, we didn't get too clinical here, but because my focus is gut health, there are so many practitioners out there who will just, just take a probiotic. Well, again, it goes back to the unique individual. How do we know that you need that strain? But what if that person has histamine issues? But what if they're not, there's a lot of what ifs. So I'm actually not a fan. I would rather someone try to consume prebiotic and probiotic rich foods and call it a day. And if we have more data or we have specific symptoms, great. But again, it's just kind of that one size fits all. Go to the store and grab something off the shelf because everybody just needs more bacteria. No, we don't. We don't.
Exactly. Just because that package looks great.
Yes.
And like, we could go on a whole side tangent around shelf life and the actual active. Yeah, sure. Yes. Don't get me started. But I think, what you just said there is so important, because I'm a big advocate for people going to a naturopath and getting their freaking tests done and sitting down with someone for a good 90 minutes, let them go through the process as you do with your clients, get your unique plan written up for you and then adjust accordingly. Because also like the naturopath isn't God,
Yeah, I
you
don't
know?
have a magic wand. Like I tell
Yeah.
people, I can give you some guidance, but ultimately, you know your body better than anyone else.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and thank you for saying that because that's been like a real recurring theme in my circle lately. I interviewed a guest just last week as well. We had a similar kind of conversation around the fact that so many people have been conditioned to give their power over to those in quote unquote superior positions, whether it's a doctor. I mean, as in the healthcare field, you'll see that a lot, or a policeman, or a boss, or the parents. And it's about time that we start listening to ourselves again and trusting in our innate inner knowing.
Yeah.
Mm. And something that I'm really curious about, and I mean, this kind of goes against everything we've been saying, but I feel like with the knowledge that we are unique and we've got to try things on and test and learn, there are still, I would say, like universal things and concepts and theories that do tend to apply. And so what I would love to hear from you and on your perspective is taking it to the nutrition and cyclical nature of particularly females, based on your lived experience and perhaps sort of, your work with your clients. What, if anything, should women be paying attention to in the different stages of their cycle so that they can best support their overall health? Now, I know this is a loaded question, so we can keep it high level, and of course, knowing it's very bio-individual, but there are some universal pieces I feel like you've got so much wisdom and light to share on.
Outside of the cyclical piece, I can say there is still an umbrella, right? We all need to be prioritizing whole foods.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward. So typically what I tell people is 95% of the time, eat real foods found in nature, and diversify your diet because the microbiome loves diversity. So don't eat,
Mm.
the same 5 vegetables over and over. It's great that you love broccoli and carrots and zucchini, but you're getting the same nutrients over and over and feeding the
Mm-hmm.
same bacteria. So diversify your diet and just aim for whole foods, and that is the umbrella statement. Now, eh, honing in on the cyclical piece, I told you this is not my specialty.
Yeah.
However, I will say during your cycle and right before, I'm a huge fan of really focusing on nutrient-dense foods and
Mm-hmm.
honing in on magnesium specifically. I know I mentioned that one earlier and just threw it out randomly, but with hormones, magnesium levels seem to get depleted. And I notice in my own body and in many clients over the years, upping magnesium-rich foods around our cycle or taking additional magnesium in supplement form can be really key.
Mm.
But
Yes.
yeah,
And for listeners who might not know what foods might be magnesium rich, can you give them a few examples?
nuts and seeds like almonds, dark
Mm.
chocolate is a good
Yum.
one. And this is why so many women crave chocolate around their cycle. They assume it's the sugar. I'm like, sometimes it can be the sugar, but if it's the dark chocolate, sometimes you need the magnesium.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very often. I mean,
Mhm.
as someone who is on day 3 of her cycle, I can strongly advocate for the magnesium cravings. Um, and also, it goes back to listening to your body. So it's really interesting. I generally tend to avoid red meat. That's what works well on my body. I love lean meats and proteins, but my body just does not do well with digesting red meat.
Yeah.
Um, Bio-individual, not a universal truth. It's just
And
how it
I'm
is.
gonna chime in here because this is hysterical. Like when I'm on my cycle, when I say I want a steak, it's like give me a 20-ounce ribeye, but I think I need the iron then, and that's me.
Yeah,
So perfect
exactly.
example.
Exactly. And that is exactly where I was going with this as well. It's so funny that we're like on that same wavelength, right? Because literally, so day 3 of my cycle today, last week was obviously a luteal phase, and I was just craving a steak sandwich. I was like, I went out of my way to the supermarket and just picked up a big thick piece of steak for my partner to cook up into a steak sandwich. And he was making fun of me saying, oh, what are you doing? It's like all of a sudden you want red meat. And I was like, yeah, I think my period's coming because I'm craving the iron. And here we go. And yes, that is exactly what happened. So to your point, it's all of those cravings, whether it's the, the sauerkraut or the gherkins or whatever, it is because our body is so intelligent. The cravings are informed and will seek whatever it is that it needs to replenish, right?
Absolutely. That's so funny that you said the same thing too, because I thought you were gonna say, "Oh no, I don't like any red meat on my cycle." And yeah, that is
Oh,
when I crave it.
no, exactly. It's like, well, it makes so much sense. You are literally losing blood. So
Yeah.
you need to replenish said blood. And, I mean, don't get me started on females and iron deficiencies. It's a whole different side tangent we could
There'd
go
be a
down on.
whole episode there that I could rant on too. So
I can imagine. Well, I'm sure there's somewhere on your podcast we can direct your listeners to our listeners to as well if they want to nerd out on that. And so tell me a little bit about, your experience with stress, energy, and how you navigate that in your work and life, because you're busy. Like, you run your own business, you have a child, you've got a lot of things going on. You have a membership, you've got clients, you're doing, you homeschool as well. I didn't know that. So how do you do it all? How do you navigate the life's demands?
a really good schedule.
Yes, tell me more.
Really though, everything's written down. I mean, I don't know. I'm a Capricorn. My brain just seems to like spit out organization when it comes to that. Um,
Mhm.
but for me, it's also consciously not overscheduling things. And
Yeah.
it's looking at my weeks and, oh, nope, I've got something happening. So, like, it's evening here. And I had someone else that wanted to do an event with me in the evening. I said, nope, we only do one evening a week. Like, that's my family time. And, I've got my morning routine. My evening routine is much better than my morning because I'm not woken up by a child. But evening
Mhm.
routine, the meditation comes in. There's deep breathing that happens throughout the day. There's listening to stuff as I'm driving. Like, that's my me time. I do a
Yeah.
lot of driving every day, so that's listening to podcasts or something soothing, and so
Mhm.
it's just about being really creative with how I schedule things, but really mindful. I'll use that word again of how I do it
Yes.
because I could very easily cram stuff in. Um, and actually, I'll give an example. I Monday was a holiday. I had my son go to a camp so I could work. And there was a period of time where I didn't have anything scheduled. The weather was really nice, and it's
Mhm.
not so nice now. And for a moment, I said, oh, no, 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 I could do another email promoting my webinar. And then there was another side that said, but you really want to go outside and take a walk. What's going to serve your soul better? So I took a walk.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that question. What's going to serve your soul better? That is beautiful.
Yeah, I have to
And
remind myself of that, but yeah.
mhm. And it takes a lot of self-awareness, and I would say courage and
Mhm.
real trust, and the ability to stand in your center to follow through on that as well. Because what everything that you've just shared with me, like, I mean, it resonates so strongly. It is so aligned with the work that I'm doing now with my clients. And everything I hear from you is, you use the word mindful, yeah, choiceful as well. It feels like really potent. It's like you understand that everything is a choice. So
Mhm.
if something comes up, and I think this is where especially women with a bad stress response, who are dysregulated, who tend to fawn and people please, tend to just say, yeah, yeah, of course, I'll do it. I'll help you. Let's do it. And it sounds like you've found a way to take a moment, step back. Okay, this is what's being proposed. Let me first look at everything else I've got going on, so I'm not overcommitting myself, and
Mhm.
then make a choice as a result of that. And it sounds like you do a really great job of then managing your energy, really tuning into what's the right thing to do in that moment. Like you said, taking advantage of the great weather and going for a walk, which, I mean, for you in the Northern Hemisphere right now, you would need that vitamin D.
Yeah.
By the way, another supplement we are all very much in need of. Just sprinkle that in there. Um, which is really great. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And
And I will just say I
mm,
was not always there. Like I was the chronic people pleaser, perfectionist. Sure, I'll do it. Little bit of a doormat at times. And so this has been years and years of working to get to this point.
Mm.
So
Tell
just
me.
reminding the listeners, it takes time.
It does. It does. And you're an example of what's possible. And so tell me what shifted for you.
There is not one thing that shifted. I
Mm.
will say the funny thing is it all stemmed from my dear podcast co-host, who we don't even do the same thing anymore. It's just
Mhm.
crazy alignment with us. But she mentioned something about 7 years ago and said, "You have money blocks." I'm like, "Well, what is a money block?" And so I started reading books. I started listening to podcasts, and it's like that was an entry point because it
Mhm.
didn't turn into it wasn't about money. I mean, sure, money was in there, but then it was like almost a little bit of an obsession with like I hate to call it self-help, but was helping
Yeah.
myself, but digging into those subconscious patterns, and that's when the hypnosis came in and,
Mhm.
understanding identity and the stories that run through your head and all these patterns from life, and it kept going and going and going.
Mm. Yeah. And so what I'm hearing you say is introspection,
Yeah.
going inwards, asking yourself the tough questions, and then following just whatever the right next step is in front of you to get there, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I love that you said that, because so many people expect an overnight solution, a miracle pill, when like unfortunately they don't exist. But going at it in the degree that you did, which is like from the inside out, in my humble opinion, is the only sustainable way to
Yeah.
do it.
And
Because
it's
otherwise, as our business coach and mentor says, it's just like putting whipped cream on garbage.
yeah. And I mean, I say this to clients too, healing is a lifelong journey. Like there's not a destination. And I'm not necessarily talking physical healing, right? Like, no,
Yeah.
please don't feel that way forever. You don't need to feel that way.
Mm-mm.
But the inner work, and the asking yourself questions and coaching yourself. Like you are your best coach. I have conversations with myself in my head of, okay, I don't like this situation. What am I learning from this? Like what do I
Mm-hmm.
need to take from this situation? Why am I going through it? When you don't ask those things, there's no growth and there's no healing.
Exactly. Exactly. The quality of our life is determined by the quality of the questions we ask ourselves. And they are scary as to ask. But if you're not willing to look, as you say, at those unconscious shadow aspects of self, unfortunately, at least that's been my experience. I don't know about you, but it's like life will just get louder until eventually you listen.
Yeah.
Right.
And just like
Yeah.
symptoms, I tell my clients the same thing. I'm like, they start as a
Mm-hmm.
nice little whisper, and
Mm-hmm.
then eventually they're going to yell at you. So,
Mm-hmm. And so it's your choice. Like you
yeah.
can respond to the whisper, or you can wait till you get really miserable and till they yell. And I love that you mentioned the whole money blocks piece, because that's so interesting. I find, yeah, we have some really basic relationships with a few really important fundamental things in life, and they tend to be really interconnected, right? Like, I mean, when we think of money and the energy of money and abundance, and then we think of things like time and time scarcity, which is so closely connected to, like, life force and our purpose on this planet, and feeling like we're not wasting our time. And then you think of like energy and our ability to create, and it's all sort of so intertwined. And I saw, like, you giggle a little bit there around time as well, because while you've done a lot of healing, as have I, as you say, it's a lifelong journey. And as we said before, the stressors are going to keep on coming. Things are going to come, especially as a business owner. Entrepreneurship is an inside job. How do you navigate and manage your energy and your calendar when things get overwhelming?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, besides having my little planner, I mean, I just have to remind myself, just like I would tell my clients, it's a season. There are
Yeah.
going to be seasons where you're going to be overwhelmed, stressed beyond
Mm.
belief. Maybe you overcommitted to things and you weren't thinking. I still do that. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
I'm committing. And then I look at my calendar, I'm like, what was I thinking? Like, that was
Mm-hmm.
stupid. And
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. We're just going to power through it. We're going to take those little teeny tiny breaks for some breathing and know that it's got an end.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, understanding that there's lessons in there. So for me, it's, oh, okay, I really screwed up on booking. I need to pay better attention, or I need to cross check, or whatever it might be.
Yes, yes, exactly. And I love that you said that because again, I'm always amazed at the synchronicities. As you were speaking, I wrote down "learned from self," and then you said it. It's like,
I
yeah,
love it.
what? Oh my gosh! It's like
Telepathy.
what can I learn from myself and this experience, and what is this trying to teach me? Because
Mhm.
everything that happens to us, we've got the choice to either let it be a problem or an opportunity to do better next
Yeah.
time and use that information of, okay, this didn't work, what am I going to do differently next time to make sure it doesn't happen again? And
Mhm.
also like being gentle with ourselves if it does.
Yeah. Like, oh
And
well, it's not the end of the world. Like,
exactly, it's like we're okay, like we
mhm.
actually can take some of that pressure off ourselves, especially as, high performers and achievers. I think we tend to, man, set the bar so damn high.
Yeah.
And no one's holding us to that except ourselves.
Yep.
And so it actually feels quite nice, as you say, when sometimes you can just be like, actually, I'm just going to take a walk. Like,
Yeah.
it's fine.
The email will really, is it going to make that much of a difference? No, probably not.
Exactly. And is it maybe just like a bit of busy work because you've already
Yeah.
done everything else and you're just trying to make your ego feel good that you're
Yeah.
doing something, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Sometimes doing nothing is the most productive thing you can do.
Yeah. That's where the ideas come in too. So,
Yes. My gosh, tell me about it. I mean,
yeah.
we're right brain, left brain, that little creative, is it left? Right brain's got to have space. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
it's left and right. It's got to have space to have its own process, right? And let those ideas come through. And I love that you also said that this is a season and it will end. And so I think there's also that's a really important piece that I wanted to highlight, is that where the problems begin to come in is where when people get stuck in the cycle. You said it earlier, the stress cycles, right?
Hmm.
And what unfortunately I see a lot also with my clients is it then just becomes this vicious cycle that feeds off of itself. And so you've got to break the chain. And so what I'm hearing in you is, because of that self-awareness and this questions that you're asking yourself, you are consciously saying, okay, like this is a season and this will end. Not, oh, and then I got to do more and then da 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 da, because it could be very easy to stay
Yeah.
in that paradigm. Mm. Something that resonates with me as well that I'll share, that I have been playing with recently, also because I get overwhelmed too. Like, again, we live life and we
Right.
learn. A question I've been letting come to my awareness lately is, what would the version of me, like what would future me do in this situation? What does she do? How does she respond? What's the action she takes? And sometimes it's the most weird, unrelated, surprising thing you imagine. And it's like, oh, well, actually, it again goes back to identity and
Mhm.
purpose. And if we already act like we're there, then we get there faster.
Yeah. I
Mm.
I'm I'm with you, and that the same goes for the physical aspect of healing too, and that's what I talk to my clients about. If all you were focused on is how crappy you feel in the moment, you're going to continue to feel crappy. So start
Mm.
focusing on the future you, that identity level of, who would I show up as in the world if I felt so amazing? What are the things I would do? Now, I'm not saying you're going to go run a marathon if you're chronically ill, but take some of those little steps. It's,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that identity level.
Exactly. Yes. And it's that enjoyment of life,
Mm.
right? Like I find, especially for people, as you say, with chronic illness, I don't know if you see that in your clients, but I see that so much. It's like you just perpetuating the cycle, and that's what's familiar. And if we take it back to the nervous system, unfortunately, what's familiar is safe. So we keep repeating that
Mhm.
same wiring because that's all we know. And our nervous system will always choose a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven. So it really takes courage to break that cycle, and it can feel really discombobulating on that identity level of like, whoa, who am I
Mhm.
without the pain? What would life be like? if I felt great? What else becomes possible?
Mm-hmm.
And that can be some really scary stuff to look
Yeah.
at.
Yeah, it can.
How do you support your clients when they navigate those really challenging moments?
Um, Conversation, truly, and
Mm-hmm.
just holding space for them. Thankfully, I mean, have I had clients cry on calls? Absolutely. Like many, many, many times. But a lot of times it's not the deep work. It's just I probe. I start by asking those little questions and then kind of send them on their way because I do feel like everyone's on their own journey and they have to get there at their time. Um, so it's just me there holding space, asking questions, supporting them, and that's about it.
Mm. Well, you say that's about it, but that's a freaking massive, miracle worker that you do in your work, and it ripples out in ways probably far greater than you will ever imagine as well, because it all starts with ourselves and our body, and if we can learn how to feel great again in our own skin, I mean, that is the first step towards all the positivity and the joy that we then ripple out into the world around us.
Yeah.
Um, so with that in mind, as we kind of bring this full circle, I would really love to hear from your side. If there was one thing that resonated with the listeners long after the episode ends, what do you wish that would be?
Stop listening to all of the noise out there. And I'm not just talking nutrition, everything, because there's a lot of noise out there.
Mm.
And start tuning into you. What does your internal GPS say? Is it asking for more rest? When you heard me say walk, did you flinch? Or was that a flinch because it was like, oh, shoot, maybe I need to do that too? Is your body asking for more water? Is it asking for a different job? Is it asking for more of a community, some relationships? So turn inward and start asking those questions and just tune out everyone else.
Yes, I love that. And it is like if you start there, that everything else will fall into
Mhm.
place. And I guess cheeky follow-up question for someone who's like never gone inwards before.
Mm.
Um, how, where would you start?
I mean, I would start with the simple question of what is my body asking for in this moment? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what would feel good right now? Sometimes it's a deep breath. Sometimes it is like, oh, I haven't had water in a while. Sometimes it's, I don't know. But if you can just ask yourself that one question of what does my body need right now? What would feel good? Just run with it.
Yes, yes. And the body is so wise. And I love that you said, I don't know. Because I don't know is a really fair answer. It's okay
Yeah.
not to know. Like, I think people get freaked out when they're
Yeah.
like, I don't know how to answer this question. It's like, cool. You've
Yeah.
asked it. Let the unconscious mind do its thing. The answer will come. Trust me.
Mhm.
That thing's always working. Believe it or not. We've all had that 3 a.m. idea pop into our head, haven't we? Um, so if people want to learn more about your work, connect with you, how can they work with you? Where can they find you? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, my website's a good starting point, a
Mhm.
nourishlifenutrition.com. I'm on Instagram, kirawhitham.nd for naturopathic doctor. Those are kind of the 2 places. I mean, I do have a podcast. I have a co-host, but it's not purely clinical. So if someone's looking
Mhm.
for the healing into all of the layers, Heal Yourself podcast is ours.
I love that. And we'll make sure to link everything in the show notes as well. I am so, so grateful for you coming on and sharing your story and your wisdom and your experience. I think that people often tend to think that there's only one specific layer, especially when you say things like naturopath, doctor, nutritionist. It's like they tend to put you in a box.
Mm.
But what I love, and you said this right at the front of our episode, is like, but I look at it holistically.
Mhm.
And that is in my humble opinion, the only way to look at a person, because you cannot disconnect the gut from anything else.
Yeah.
Just as much as you cannot disconnect a finger from the hand unless you amputate it, but then it's no longer part of you anyway. So, silly analogy, but this is where we landed. So thank you so much, Kira. I'm so grateful for your time and your wisdom. And yeah, I'm really excited to see the work that you're going to ripple out into the world. It's really important, and you're making your mark. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. What a great conversation. It is just so potent and so aligned to everything that resonance is about, a lot of my work. And what really stuck with me was hearing Kira's reflections of how she manages times of really intense workload and stress and pressure and overwhelm. Because here's the thing, none of us are actually immune to this, right? We all deal with it. It's just the question is, how well equipped are you to deal with it? And also, what systems, tools, and strategies you have up your sleeve in order to set yourself up for success. And I really loved her perspective of, when things do go awry and you're like, oh, I could have done things differently here. It's like, well, what can you learn from this experience? And also, what can we make sure we take with us into the future so you don't have this happen again, or at least you prevent it from happening again? Because it's one thing to be in this state of constant overwhelm and panic and perpetuating that dynamic, but it's a whole other game when you are able to consciously reflect, look back, and adjust and tweak. And often, at least in my personal experience, it is easier with the right support, which is exactly what I am here for. And, we are literally opening doors to Efficiency Made Easy this week at the time of this episode airing. So if you are not on the priority wait list yet, then make sure you get on there ASAP. More on that at the end. But just for now, I really, really find that this one simple, doable thing that all of us could really use a little bit more of is taking a moment to ask ourselves, what does my body need right now? What does my body need today? Is it a nap? Is it water? Is it a run? Just ask yourself that question. And then if it's possible for you, just give that to yourself. Don't wait until it's too late. You don't need to be miserable. There truly is another way. And people like Kira and myself are here to help co-facilitate that for you. And I really, really hope that you're starting to see now that you truly are a connected, integrated being. There is no way that you can disconnect your gut from the rest of you. Your finger is just as much as part of you as your heart, as your brain, as your toe. So start with whatever feels achievable for you. Set yourself up for success from the start. Start with the smallest doable thing, right? I know one of the biggest reasons that we fail at our big goals is because, first of all, we're not aligned on so many levels as to what and why and how we're going to achieve them. Again, more on that in my program. But also, they're so far-fetched and so out there that they feel out of reach. We quickly give up. So just what's the smallest doable thing that you can do that makes your body, mind, and spirit feel great today? Start there. Until next week, I hope you have a fantastic week ahead. This is a big week for me, team. I'm opening doors for the very first time to my brand new program, Efficiency Made Easy. Tune in and listen to what I've got to share in just a moment. I would love to see you inside. Bye for now. I get asked by high-performing women and entrepreneurs how to get more done in less time all the time. And that is because I have been able to master productivity, efficiency, and planning myself. I am known in my professional and personal life as the productivity queen. And for the very first time ever, I'm so excited about this. I will be teaching a small, select group of students how to use cyclical alignment, energy management, and high performance structures so that you can finally have a personal operating system that makes progress towards your big goals feel inevitable and easy. Imagine getting more done in less time. Imagine structure and consistency in your life. And imagine knowing how to work with your body to optimize your productivity. It's all so much closer than you think. In fact, enrollment to this first of its kind program opens this week. And if you join as a founding member, you get once in a lifetime perks like an intimate container, the opportunity to co-create this with me, and lifetime access, by the way, for like a ridiculously low price. I kid you not, you will never see this price tag on this ever again. I genuinely feel like I'm getting ripped off, but I want to help you. So if you are done constantly pushing through exhaustion, feeling tired but wired, and you would like to be part of this special training, make sure that you join the priority waitlist today. The link is in the show notes below at victorialevenberg.com/success. And make sure you don't wait too long because doors open at 6 a.m. on Wednesday, New Zealand time. We have limited seats. I've already got a few people kind of pre-enrolled in the program because, you know, they know it's great and they decided to commit already. It is first come, first served. So 6 a.m. Wednesday, get your booty on that priority list. I'll see you there. The views and opinions expressed by guests on Resonance are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of me, Viktoria Levenberg, Live in Health, or anyone working within the Live in Health brand. This space welcomes a diversity of ideas, experiences, and stories, and part of Resonance is learning to take what aligns and gently leaving the rest. Also, while I am a national board certified health and wellness coach and deeply passionate about well-being, this podcast is intended for educational and inspirational purposes only. Resonance does not substitute personalized medical, psychological, or therapeutic advice. Always seek guidance from qualified professionals for any physical, emotional, or mental health concerns.